The rains have passed. It's been a hectic 8 or 9 days since we've done anything. Yeah, we've done a lot of things, but not worked on the car. So
We have not.
back to the leaf springs on the Zephyr project. If you walk this way, Jamie, you will look inside and see what we accomplished last time in the front. Last episode, we went in and established this cross member with the front perches for these leaf springs. So this is a good setup here. Some people commented, oh, the drive shaft's going to come through. You're going to have to cut that. Yeah, we're going to have to cut the center of this out. Okay, for now, it's a start. So these are in place. They're measured correct. It's very strong. It's the beginning of an even stronger section of chassis. Basically, we're back halving the Zephyr to drop it really low. Next step is to create another cross member in the back and make hangers for the rear of the leaf spring, but those have shackles. It's a little more complex than what you see here. On the floor, you can see this is the old cross member.
Oh, down there.
I cut it all out. A lot of this is going to get chopped out of the car because we're working on major structural elements, so that's why I didn't get too crazy cleaning stuff up. A lot of the car's coming out. I clamped this piece of tube across the chassis rails. It's clamped on both sides to keep that spread reasonably strong while we're working, because now there's almost no structure back here. These leaf springs, when they come up, we want to lower it, just like we brought the leaf spring perches in the front up above the floor. Actually, we're going to want to bring these shackles as high up into the car as possible. If you look at the other side, you'll see I've already done a bunch of work. I already got it figured out.
Ah.
So
This is one of those you've already got it figured out. Now you're just going to do the work video.
that way you don't have to stand here for 4 hours while I figure all this out and everybody gets frustrated, right? It's like we're going to do the work, but there's not going to be all that chopping and waiting, etc.
Well, I kind of like the sometimes you figure it out on camera and then sometimes you just kind of show the work and explain it. I think it's a really good both things are cool. But you're right, I do get a little
Well, this is
I do get a little bored sometimes.
this isn't a very exciting thing, but it's necessary to get the car low in this way. So I ordered new shackles online. That's these things here. And then I created my own setup. It's actually a tube in a tube. If you look inside, you can see there's two tubes. There's a very thin wall tube stuck inside that. That reason being this diameter of the bushing fits that just perfectly. And I'm going to have to weld this into place, so that thin wall tube that fits this is not thick enough to weld to. So now I have a really good strong surface that supports the rubber bushings. That's all preliminary stuff. So these shackles, some people might say that the plates are on reverse, they're on backwards. I think they may be. I was thinking about this cup shape here. See how it has that?
Mm-hmm.
And that kind of fits this perfectly, doesn't it?
Mm-hmm.
It does. But these little legs sticking out are going to make the overall assembly wider. And I want the overall assembly as narrow as possible, because what we're going to face here is cutting into the body so that this thing can swivel, it can rotate. That's what happens as the suspension goes up and down. This is going to be basically vertical in the car, and as the spring compresses, it gets longer, so this swings back in an arc. Basically moves like this as the car rides up and down in its suspension travel. So this is going to work, I'm sure of it. Might compress this rubber a little bit too much. Either way, this is what I got in the mail, and this is what we're using. If it fails going down the road, we're going to hear a large clunking noise, and nothing's going to be worse for wear. We're just going to be like, oh, we're going to have to get new shackles. So I'm setting them up as narrow as possible. As you can see, you got the leaf spring here. That actually fit the bushings perfectly, which was cool. These are Camaro leaf springs, 67. So you can see this setup we want to bring this up as high into the car as possible. That way the axle gets closer to the roof of the car and the car is lower. So that stays inside the frame rails like this. A lot of times on cars, you'll see them sitting just about here. We want to bring it in and up as high as possible. So we're going to cut some sheet metal out. This line I drew here, you see that? This is the fender bolt line. So we want to leave the strength in the body sheet metal enough so that the fender can bolt on, but our mechanical parts can come right up to that. If you look at on this side, you'll see as to the excavation I've been doing. See, the fender will bolt to this strip here. But then our shackle will rise up inside the car. I mean, right to basically there. As long as this isn't hitting right now, as that swivels, we're only going to have to remove that to get it out of the way. So quite a drop, right? About 4 or 5 inches.
Wow.
So unfortunately, that's the parameter of what we can accomplish with this body style. If we had, say, like a 54 Chevy or something with a flat trunk, you could bring this way up into here. So that's really going to be the limiting factor as to what we could do. Is it going to work? I don't know. I've never done this before. But I got some theory. I did this on a 54 Chevy where I brought it up about 8 inches in the trunk. So I've done this. It works. This specific layout, we're going to find out.
Shadow.
That's why she's Shadow. She's always there.
She is.
Now you, I thought we discussed. Come here. Come here. It's going to be real hard to fill the shop inspector's boots. And I'm not looking to make a mockery of all the dogs in the world, you know. But you got some charisma, I'll tell you.
She is a good girl.
She is. Can you back it up? Can you sit? Hey, sit it. Sit it. Hey, sit it. She always listens so good.
She does.
Come here. All right, she's busy.
Go lay down. Roll over.
Do anything.
Do the things. Wag your tail.
So we're going to remove all this sheet metal here that's in the way of the shackle movement. On the other side, I did a little excavation, as I mentioned, and I worked off of this rivet. Look, there's a VIN number. That is super cool. Good thing we don't have to weld over that. There's a VIN number on the front and on the rear, which is awesome. Back to what I was saying. We're using a few of these body rivets as reference points to measure. So on the other side, I see me coming just from past this fender bolt. So I pretty much went straight down to here, like that, give or take. And then I kind of just used that where it separates from the chassis. Kind of went to that straight out. Is that correct? Looking at this little curvature, it's to that. Yeah, no, right there. Saying right through that little rivet. So yeah, we're going to leave this flange for the fender to bolt to. And take this right up. Let's cut. Alright, so we bring it up that much. And this is going to be reasonably close to the chassis, just enough so that should it swing a little bit with the flex of the bushings, it doesn't hit. And vertical, basically just hanging this with my finger, you can see that I read a little bit about it, and I guess what I gathered is you don't want the shackle to be like facing this way, because when you put weight on the car, it could cause it to reverse and bind up. You want it to swing back this way. So by just having it hang vertical, as you put pressure, it's going to get longer and push back. So that's where we want to hang it, just like that. This cross member is temporary. The other cross member is removed, so we're going to have to build a cross member, very strong like the front, and something to hold on to these springs. Push this floor down a little bit. You know what? I figured that out already. I cut a piece of 2-inch heavy wall. 1/4-inch wall. This is actually trailer hitch stock. I got a whole bunch of it from my friend Tom. Thanks, Tom. It's the same
Thanks,
material.
Tom.
It's the same material we did the sliders on the bug doors with. I got tons of this stuff. So,
Wow.
like we talked about, the tone. It's heavy. Yeah. So this I cut to the width of the chassis rails. Right. Goes right on top. Can you dig it?
TD magic.
Mm-hmm.
People wonder how Ian gets a build done in all 45 minutes of full custom.
Mm-hmm. So I think we're going to use this hole here as our preliminary mark. I'm going to get a square and I'm going to make marks to get this even on both sides. I'm going to want it to step off of this shackle just a bit as it's vertical. That way it'll have room to rotate. So yeah, it's going to be maybe 1/4 inch off. So we're going to have to build some kind of structure to hold this to this.
Oh.
But first step, we're going to set these up. Again, I haven't done a ton of research that I could really figure it out. Some people might know it, but I'm gathering as long as these are matching, it doesn't have to be perfectly square, as long as we have reference points. So just holding this right to the car body as it rises up over that little piece of sheet metal, just bring it right to that hole. Then I'm just going to put it in here and do the same off of the chassis. So that should give us a starting point as to how we can land these. Do the same on this side. Putting this right to there. Just verify that that's exactly what I did on the other side. Nope, we're on the wrong side of the hole. Not that side.
Oops.
I had a feeling as soon as I drew that. So we're coming in, we're riding right down, hitting that. We're going to put this inside, square it. We're going to hit that. Let's put our steel back in and take a look. So if I was to follow this, see, the steel wants to lay on the curve of that chassis rail dipping down. But for the way these shackles come up, we're going to have to build like an outrigger to attach the two. So I feel like setting this up more in this orientation would be more advantageous. You see how this top edge, see how far that is?
Mm-hmm.
So I'm trying to get that close. So I think we can work with that. I'm going to tack weld this at the angle I want, and we're going to build a plate that just brings that structure right down into the chassis, and we'll box it in from the inside as well. I'm going to get the welder and tack that in. Just going to put a quick tack on this, then I'm going to measure to that front cross member, see what the distances are, and adjust if necessary. I'm going to throw a measuring device all the way out. So from right there, where that bolt is, to back here, wow, it's 5 feet exactly. Holy, what in the heck did I do right? When I put these springs on the bench, I mean, you saw how fast I winged that. I literally just winged it. I put the springs on the bench and compressed them, and I measured 60 inches. Crazy. That's 5 feet. In US terms, that is right there. 60. I mean, that is uncanny. I have measured some things in my time, but when it works out, it just makes everybody happy. Yeah. So it's 5 feet right to the very edge of that curve, and this is just 1/8 of an inch under. So I'm just gonna snug that one just back a little bit. Actually, you know what? That's not even gonna matter. It's really not. What's going to amount to is 1/8 of an inch. Like one shackle is just gonna be just a little bit out. I mean, it's not a perfect world, is it? I'm measuring the cross members. I should actually measure to the hardware because that's where the spring is mounted. So right to the hardware, to the center line, 58 3/4. And from here, well, we don't want to talk about that. That's way out. Oh, it's because it's on the flat of the nut, The nut is let's go from this. Yeah, we'll go right from the tab because those tabs are equal. Okay, so I got 58 3/4, like I said, to the tab. Oh, from the tab. Yeah, 58 3/4. So it's within microns.
Microns.
Microns, technical. So that being said, yeah, so we're coming from that rivet to that hole. It's gonna be a little double checking, just in real world terms. We hit the rivet, we hit the hole, and we hit the edge of that. Hit the rivet, hit the hole. Yeah, no, they are right on spot. I'm gonna blast a nice hard weld on where it's contacting the chassis, just so we can continue and put in the reinforcements later. So nice when you can weld outside and it's not windy. It's a rare event out here. All right, so as we were saying, this is going to rise up to here. Oops. Trim out that metal a little bit. Oh, actually, now that we have this cross member in, I can take this sheet metal out. That's what's bunching up on the shackle. Yeah, I'm gonna go from here. Zip, zip, and I can take this out now because we have a cross. Cool. So I'm going to need to grip something all the way over to here, and this is going to want to sit up like that. about 1/4 of an inch off. There's room in here, room in there for everything to pivot. So I'll show you what I did, then we'll make another one and perfect it. 3/16 plate. I took a hole saw, drilled straight through, just made a quick rough cut around it. Because you see, we're going to want to build a bridge that comes off and over. See, it holds that just perfect. But this is way too tall. See, we got to come maximum to that. So I'm going to measure that difference and see where we're at. This is where being an octopus is effective. I need 8 arms. So we're like that to that. The old balancing act. We're going to lay that there. We're going to put that there. And we're going to measure there.
Oops.
I told you we're going to have some live action.
You want me to help?
No, because what if you weren't here? That's one of the things that I've always said. People are like, hey, you need more help in the shop. It's like, well, what if the help isn't here? What does that look like? 1.5 inches? 1 3/4?
Yeah.
I think we want to go down a little bit lower. We're going to want 1.5 inches. So it's 1.5 inches from there. So I'm going to measure this, cut that off. Quick mock up. We got 1.5 there to there. So we want roughly that layout. How do we feel about that? Yeah, it's just going to push that out a little bit. So let's cut that and see how it looks. And that there. Oops. No, we want that even lower. Considerably lower. Let's take it down. Now I'm just going to eyeball it because I'm feeling in the zone. I'm going to take it down that much.
Ooh-wee.
That's what I want, just like that. So you can see this space here, as this rotates, it's going to give it enough clearance. Yeah, I'll take that down another 1/4 inch. So, yeah, I'm going to have to remake these because see, we're running out of room here. But I like that height. See, we're not going to interfere here. I can move that over. So we're going to need this, but it's going to need to come out about 1 inch longer. So let's work on that. So I just had all these pieces laying around. So we're going to measure off that. We're going to aim this right towards that. We're going to go release. Now we're going to take this straight. Oops. Take that straight to the end. So there's going to be 4 of these in the end. 2 per side. Yeah, see, I got a nice solid grab on that. Cool. So I'm going to take off a little of this hard edge stuff, and I'm going to make 3 more just like this. the way I'm going to dress these is they're all pretty close. So you just put them on the tube like that, clamp them together, and just cut through, make them all match. That was just a really quick arrangement with the cutting disc.
So Ian and I were just discussing the gussets because on Little Jewel, the whole gusset thing finally clicked in my brain. And then I asked him, so these are gussets as well?
Mm-hmm.
And he said, yes.
More of
And
a
then,
tab, but you know, it's a term is thrown around loosely quite a bit. So formally, I guess you would call it a tab or a standoff, or I don't know. It's a piece of steel, baby. I guess it's actually not a gusset. I think it would be a gusset if there was something coming in at this junction and it was offering support between two pieces. But hey,
let us know in the comments.
brought to you by our mascot, Gus Gusset. We're going to have a gusset dancing around the shop from now on in full costume. All right. Wasn't that exciting? 4-tab standoff gussets. Let's weld. All right. Now there is rubber in these things we're going to be welding to, so I'm just going to tack them. We do not want to burn that. And I also want to tighten this up a little bit. Let me put a wrench on there. Let's see what size we got. Put a little firmness, that way everything is set as it should.
Oops.
Yep, that's going to happen. There will be oops. Put a little tension in there to make everything set. Sort of like that. Yeah. Cool. That just keeps everything straight and tidy. So what I'm looking for here is to just make sure that this is parallel, that this tube is parallel with that cross member. And we got a nice clean surface to weld on. I'm going to take this. I want this to be about that far off. Okay, one. Make this a little bit closer. One like that, like that. Two. Same distance. It's parallel. That sets in like that. All right, got these set. I'm gonna do the other side. Let these cool off a little bit. We're trying not to cook or melt that rubber. Got to center. Center, we got 6. Center, we got 3 5/8. Center, we got 6. Center, we got 3 5/8. Yep, looks good. bend on this. Straight, square. Yep. All right, we'll hop back to the other side. Yeah, then we're just setting these in place. I'm just going to tack these because I'm going to take the rubber out before I do a hard weld. The rubber's still cooking just a little
Oh
bit.
yeah, it's smelling it.
Do the other side. Now, just to get this structure really solidified, I'm going to come across the top here with a strap. That way that's boxed, and then I'm going to come down to the chassis here with another strap. So let's see if we got some material to accomplish that. Yeah, I got this stuff. I have to slice that. Got this 1/8 inch plate. Just going to cut that. Looks like about, I don't know, 5 inches. Let's check. So we're going to come across the top of this over the edge. So about 5.5 should do it. So we're going to need 11 inches by 2.5. Now these plates just top on like this. Since I have these secure, I'm just going to hammer this around the bend. Then I can dress all this up with the grinder when it's all done. Make it look nice and uniform. Ready?
Mm-hmm.
Again, I'm not going to overheat this. I'm just going to let it sit. I'm trying to burn that rubber out of there. Do the same on the other side while this is cooling down. And now to start to bridge this together, you have to come down and grab the chassis with a piece. I think that just might work with this. I took this one and kicked it off just a little bit from too vertical. Spread it out as much as possible. Now we're going to make a cap. Brings that all together. Look at that, just get something that looks nice and strong. I trace back here. I'm going to trace here. And I think we're going to keep this. We're going to keep this curve. We're going to take this, go right back to there. It's going to be very strong. I'm tracing this. Pretty much have that roughed out. Let's see what we come up with.
Those are quite the shears.
There's no feeling quite like some freshly shorn sheet metal. There's an Austin Powers joke in there somewhere. Give myself a birthmark. It's bound to happen. Alright, feeling that?
Mm-hmm.
Spreading out the whole action. Yeah. Alright, let's take this, cut a piece of steel. So what you see here is a good representation of, again, like we did with the front, the beginning of the structure. I'm going to stick this fender on. Hopefully it clears. Ooh, did my voice crack? I mean, I made a pretty good guesstimation. So yeah, as crude as this all looks, it's going to get dressed up, but it's also hidden. This car's a driver. It's never going to be shown with the fenders off. It's just about a good structural thing to lower it, and all the parts will unbolt. Let's pop that fender on and see what happens. Come on, fender. Find your spot. There it is. All right, everything clears. It's completely hidden. And for the last bit of fun, stick that skirt on and take a look. So classy. I'm gonna lower this lift. Springs aren't gonna let it go all the way down, but let's just see what happens. I'm not gonna put a lot of weight on it because I don't want to break any of those welds we did. Yeah, so check it out. So the axle just touched the springs, but we're gonna flip the axle. So we're gonna bring the axle up inside here. That's gonna make it much, much lower. So that's a good start. You could look at it from this angle. We're not really messing with the trunk floor all that much. The trunk floor will come off of here because it's a unibody. Go straight to that level, basically. We'll patch that in.
Very cool.
Yeah, another day in the life. Stand by for the next episode. I think I'm going to work on a Volkswagen again. I'm starting to get that twitch.